All right, everybody, welcome to another edition of the Leadership Blend television show and the live podcast. Because y'all know we are continuing our journey with these amazing Mogulcon speakers. Today's speaker is we're getting into wealth today, roadblocks, myths, all that good stuff, particularly for women. And I'll say women of color, particularly today. So it's going to be extremely interesting. I'm not going to waste any more time, so I'm going to let her introduce herself and tell a little bit about herself. So it's all yours, ma'am.
Hello, everyone. My name is Terrell Dinkins. I am a financial roadmap creator. No, I am a financial wealth advisor, speaker, and author. And my goal is to help women, small business owners build wealth and close the wealth gap. So I'm really, really excited to be here with Ricardo today. I'm a native Atlantan. Let me see, what else can I say about myself? I'm native Atlantan. I consider myself a true Georgia peach. I attended my a true Georgia peach.
I saw that in your bio. I was like, a true Georgia peach. Okay, that's like some Phaedra Park stuff.
So I was born and raised in Atlanta, and then I grew up in Decatur, but I went to Georgia Southern for my undergraduate degree, and I majored in finance. I attended Mercer University in Atlanta for my master's degree, and then I attended University of Georgia for through the executive plan for financial planners. So I've hit a lot of the Georgia schools, and that's why I say a true Georgia peach.
I have to give you that crown.
A lot of the Georgia schools in Atlanta, and born and raised here.
Yeah, I have to give you that crown. Like you really have rep Georgia from education on up. So I have to give you that crown. You win that one. No doubt, like I don't know about that, but you win that one. I give you that. I give you that. All right, so tell us how your journey started. Like I'm curious about how your journey started to get you where you are.
Well, I really consider myself a person who's truly walking in their purpose. I've always been a good steward with my money. I've always enjoyed finance. So I graduated from high school, went to Georgia Southern, majored in finance. When I graduated from college, I actually was recruited through, and so I'm going to really tell my age now, Ricardo. First Atlanta Bank. So it was First Atlanta and then Wachovia, Wells Fargo. So when I graduated, I came out of school working for the bank. I was an operations manager and a loan officer. So I started in that whole money world. And then I completely did a 180, and I worked in pharmaceutical sales for 16 years. I went through the company, downsized, and I had the option of taking a severance package or leaving the industry. And I really wanted to get back to my roots. So I took the severance package, and that has been 11 years. I decided to go back to my roots in finance. So took the severance package, and I never looked for a job. I rearranged my resume because I knew that I wanted to get in financial planning. I said, for the rest of my life, I want to help people with their money and help people with their finances. So I rearranged my resume and put my business, because at the time I owned I had a interior design company. So I put that at the top. Yeah, see, things you just never know.
Look, I would never get, your background, that office behind you, fire. So I can get there.
Okay. So, but I rearranged my resume, and a financial planning firm reached out to me. And so I worked with them for 7.5 years. One of the good things about with the downsizing is that my old company gave me a package to change careers. And so what I did was that money was used to, get my securities license, everything that I needed in the financial planning, wealth building space. I got it. So I got all my securities license with the help of funding from my previous employer. So I worked for a financial planning firm up in Buckhead in Atlanta for 7.5 years. And in 2016, I decided that I really wanted to focus on the client. I didn't want to think about a product, because a lot of times when you work for these firms, it's unfortunate that you may sell a product, and even though it's about the client, you still have products. And I said I really wanted to focus on the client. I wanted to do more money management, and I wanted to write more financial plans. The good thing about a financial plan is that anybody could see me. You know, a lot of times when you're working with these firms, if the person doesn't have money that they can invest,
Mm.
or if they don't have a product, you can't help them, I don't think, like you should, like you want to be able to. So with me branching out on my own, I didn't have to worry about a product. I wanted to work on and concentrate on the person in front of me and writing financial plans. So that's what I mean by, I help people create their own financial roadmaps. So I write the plan, and a lot of times what the bulk of what goes on in that plan is you're here at point A and you want to get to point B. How are you going to get there? How much money do you need to save to get there? What do you need to be able to live comfortably in retirement? So I do a lot of that, and I manage money. So in 2016, I branched out. And actually, I said this was God wanted me to be here because I interviewed with other companies, and I was an author. I had already written a book, and my old employer was okay with the book. In our industry, there's a lot of regulation. So my old employer, and they weren't an employer, I was a contractor. They were okay with the book because it was a book on just personal finance. And my shameless plug, the first book was One Bucket at a Time, A Woman's Guide to Creating Wealth. So they blessed that book. But when I interviewed with other companies, they either wanted me to stop talking about my book,
Mm.
or they wanted to put their company name in the book. It was just so many obstacles. So in 2016, I left that firm. The first of 2017, after interviewing with three other companies, on Dr. King's birthday, I decided, you know what? And that was 2017. I'm going to go out on my own and open up my own practice. So I met with a consulting firm, and they were like, Terrell, it's going to take 90 days for the state to approve you to have your own firm. Ricardo, it took 2 weeks.
Seriously?
So I 2 weeks to get the state to approve me to have my own financial planning firm. So I knew then that this was God's way of saying you're going in the right direction, and this is what you're supposed to be doing.
Okay,
So
so
here
let's.
I am today. And I have two companies. I know people always, I have two companies. So I have a company, One Bucket Nation is the company that I had to create separately when I was with the industry. And I produce all of my books. I speak through that, and I do personal finance topics. And then I own a financial planning firm. I'm the president and founder of a financial planning firm.
Okay, boss moves, boss moves. We love it. We love it, boss moves. All right. So, what do you find at the core? Because we're particularly talking about women, and we know that you guys and with you ladies encounter all kinds of things, especially pay disparity between women and men, which actually goes deeper because it's not only just women against men, but then you get into white women, you get into white males, and the disparities there. So it's actually bigger than that. But at the core of what you working with these women, what do you find some of the biggest issues are as it pertains to this gap in wealth?
Well, here's what I find is particularly in Atlanta. And women in Atlanta, we're doing money moves. We're making money. Women are making great money in Atlanta. The problem is they make the cash and they don't know what to do. They're stuck. Like, how do I convert the cash to wealth? How do I convert this cash that's sitting in a bank account making 0.01% to it generating money in your sleep? You wake up and you got extra $10,000 in your account. So that's the issue, not knowing how to convert their cash flow to a net worth, not knowing who to speak with, and then waiting until you're at the last quarter, until you're old, and then you realize, oh my God, I didn't do what I was supposed to do. Here I am 40 years old and I haven't started thinking about retirement. So those are some of the biggest things I see, not knowing how to, again, convert the cash that they're making to wealth, and not knowing who to ask, and waiting until the last minute to decide to do something about their situation.
Okay, that strikes me to my next point. So For women who are in corporate America and they have these 401k accounts, and now with companies downsizing and people are kind of like, okay, well, I have this 401k account, but I'm no longer working for this company. Should I take that money out and go do something with it? Should I, like, what do you see when you sit down with somebody who's in that situation? Because I know it's becoming a lot more frequent. What do you say to them?
So what you're supposed to say to a person, this is legally, a person who has a 401k where they've been downsized, they actually have a couple of options. They can, depending on the size of that 401k, they can leave the money there. B, they can take the money out, which I wouldn't suggest taking the money out. Or C, they can do a rollover and roll that money into four things. They can roll that money to a new company's 401k plan, or they can roll that money into a IRA. Or if it's a Roth 401k plan, they can roll it into a Roth IRA. If it's a traditional 401k plan, they can roll that money into a traditional IRA. So those are the four options. Keep it where it is, transfer it to their new employer, take the money out, or roll it over into a IRA. If they take the money out, they're going to be, hit with a penalty unless they're already 59 and a half.
Okay, so you hear in the streets people talking about this 7 streams of income, and you should be able to do this, and you should be able to do that. Okay, so I don't have to ask you if you subscribe to that ideology, because the eye roll that I just saw, clearly you don't. So
people do say that, but here's the thing. So I'll look at, and when people say 7 streams of income, a lot of that means that you can make, and I'll use myself as an example. So I get paid for speaking, and we'll count them. I get book royalties from my book. I get dividend income from my investments. I get capital gain income. So you get money from your investments. So dividend and the growth in the stocks. So I get that. Or what else? So that's 4. So that's, I think, what people mean by 7 streams. Making sure, and I'm sorry. And in my practice, I forgot, I get, assets under management. I get paid. I guess I do have 7 consulting fees, and then I also have my insurance license. So I get insurance. So I guess I do have 7. So I didn't even think about it that way, but I do have
clearly.
Okay. But that's what it means, is that it's no longer taboo to work a 9-to-5 job and not have a hustle while you work, not have something going on outside of your 9-to-5 job. And it's okay. And so what I'm doing, or what people are doing, is starting to become a norm. I think the big issue is, how do you live off those? How do you make a living and are able to handle and take care of your household with those streams of income? And I think that's the big question. How do I get there?
Yeah. Okay, so as people, what you about to say?
But I would say, but if you're not, so that goes back to me helping those women. If you're not investing, you really do. When you invest in the market, you make money in your sleep. You can literally, the market is up, you go to sleep and you wake up the next day and your account has gone up $5,000-$10,000. That happens. That's making money in your sleep.
But I think that's the issue. Like, since we're in this space, I think that's the issue, because most of the time, unless you're actually well-versed, which you are, well-versed in those kinds of arenas to know how to make an investment, who to speak to broker your investment, things of that magnitude, I don't think very many people know where to start. Now, in this day and age, because of the digital age, you have apps like Robinhood, Cash App has actually cashed into it, that kind of say, well, hey, you put $5 here, and but if you really don't understand the dynamics of investing, I think nobody really knows where to start. So I guess that would be my question to you. Where would somebody start, and how much money would you need to start someplace anyway?
So now I'm going to talk about my book. So I truly believe that there should be some order to this whole thing about building wealth. And my first book, One Bucket at a Time, A Woman's Guide to Creating Wealth, I actually break down. So though there are 4 buckets of money that I talk about in this book. So when you start putting money in the stock market, you're telling yourself it's okay if I lose that money. Because I've actually put money in an investment, and it was a mining company, and I lost all the money, but I was okay with that because it wasn't a loss. I'm going to try this thing out, and I lost all the money. So when you start putting money in the stock market, you're telling yourself, I've done what I'm supposed to do over here with my first bucket of money, so I'm willing to take on a little bit more risk. And so here's what I mean by that. So the first bucket of money, which I talk about in that book, is your cash bucket. That bucket is going to include your emergency fund, 3 to 6 months. You know, if you have two people in your household and there are two incomes, you can get away with having 3 months of an emergency fund. And what I mean by that is food, shelter, clothing. I want to make sure I keep my lights out, not going to get my hair done or my nails done, but things that you have to maintain in the event that you lost your job. So that emergency fund, if your car breaks down, you need transportation. You're going to have 3 to 6 months of money in that. If you're a business owner, then you need to have more. And I think a lot this COVID situation made us realize we need to have money a lot longer than, more than 3 months worth of money. So for my business owners, I really like for them to build wealth, but also continue to fund that cash bucket for 9 months in case something happens. So that's that first bucket. So once you've done that, and then you look at that long-term bucket where if you work at an employer, and your company has a 401k plan, then the minimum you should be putting in that 401k plan is up to the company's match, because that's free money. Your company says is if you put in 3%, I'll match 3%. That's free money. You don't walk away from that. But that's also making money in your sleep. That's another form of a stream of income, the money that your employer is giving to you. So then let's go back to that middle bucket. So you have the cash bucket, you got your emergency fund, you're putting money in your 401k plan, and your company is giving you a match on that. So now you've done your due diligence and you stick your toe in that middle investment bucket. And that middle investment bucket will include, buying individual stocks, buying mutual funds. I'm going to go and get me some rental properties, and maybe use rental properties to create a cash flow for myself. So that's the order that I would start investing. My cash first, working on my long-term 401k, and then going into that middle investment bucket that everyone's talking about. Like, I'm gonna buy some stocks here. Well, you buying stocks and you don't have an emergency fund. It doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense for you to go buy a stock, a digital currency, and you don't have an emergency fund.
So when we say, because I want to be very clear about this. So when we say buy stock, how exactly would one do? Because I think that's the kind of language, the kind of vague language that people hear. It's like, well, you should buy stock. Okay, well, I don't know anything about stocks. So do I go to a company and try to find on their website stock buying? Like, where would I go to know where to buy stocks?
You mean where to buy stock or what to buy?
Both. Like, where would I buy stock, and what kind of stock should I be looking at?
You have to, in order for you to buy a share of stock, you have to open up a brokerage account. So that's step one. You got to open up a brokerage account, and then you have all of the you have the big names, and I don't want to get into names, but you can go to Google, and I've actually had some clients to do this. Go to Google and say, what are some of the best brokerage accounts? And it's called a brokerage account. So you need to open up a brokerage account to buy an individual share of stock. Or in order for you to create a more diversified portfolio, you can buy a mutual fund. So a mutual fund is just a lump of stocks. And I'll use this as an example. And I always use this as an example because I used to work in the pharmaceutical industry, and I like pharmaceutical companies and stocks. So I actually say hypothetically, if and I don't own these companies, I'm just saying this. You wanted to buy Moderna. Moderna just came out with the, with Pfizer to do the vaccine. So you buy individual Moderna stock, okay? So you buy that stock. But then you can also, and that's just the one stock. well, the vaccine didn't do, it came out that you had to take a lot of doses. People didn't think it may be that proper, so it goes down. And I'm just using that as an example. So you can buy that one stock, or you can go here and buy a healthcare mutual fund. A healthcare mutual fund may have in it the Moderna, it may have Johnson and Johnson, Merck, Pfizer, a lot of these other companies. So it's a lot of different companies inside that mutual fund. So when the one stock over here drops in price, it's going to drop everywhere, including inside this mutual fund. But the other companies inside that mutual fund may go up. So instead of you losing your money, you may have gained money because you had that money inside that mutual fund versus owning just one individual stock. So with all that being said, owning individual stock can be more risky than owning a mutual fund. There are more costs involved in that, but it's more less risky because it has diversification. It's diversified. It is easier to get into buying an individual stock. You can buy the one share stock, especially with the new lineups like Robinhood's, where you don't have to pay. Well, I don't think any of them charge you anything anymore, but you can just buy the one share of that stock versus I think with some of the mutual funds, they require you. And this was when I first got started. After I got tired of buying individual stocks, I started buying mutual funds, but a lot of the mutual funds will require you to have $5,000 or so to put in them, 2,000 or 5,000, depending on the family of the mutual fund. That they may require you to have more in order for you to buy that mutual fund. You can also buy an ETF. So we're going to all these different things. So an ETF is an exchange traded fund, and an ETF is a mutual fund that trades like a stock. So, so I know I'm all over the place. So if you buy a stock today, and this is how fast it is, and why I personally like investing in the stock market than buying a lot of real estate. Okay. So you can buy a stock today, and if you see the stock going down, you can just sell it and you're out. You can buy a mutual fund, but the mutual fund you can only sell it at the end of the day's closing. So you can only sell it at 4 o'clock when the market closes. And then an exchange traded fund, which is an ETF. ETF is an exchange traded fund. It's a mutual fund that operates like a stock. So it's a mutual fund that you can sell it immediately. So you got individual stocks, you have exchange traded funds, that is a mutual fund that can be sold like a stock. And you have an actual mutual fund. And the ETF and the mutual funds are both groupings of different stocks.
No, that's the kind of stuff I want. Like, I want to make it plain so that people can understand, because I think we use very vague language that means a lot to us, but the average Joe is like, okay, you keep telling me to invest in stock, but I don't know how to even start. So I need to know what that means. So that was
good. And so, and then starting, where do I start? I always tell people, invest in things that you are familiar with. I like pharmaceutical companies. I worked in the pharmaceutical world for a while, so I like that. I like, now that I'm older, I like investing in things that's going to pay me a dividend, that's going to pay me cash for owning it. It may not have the growth, but then you have companies that have a dividend. It's a dividend growth stock where you get a small dividend for owning it, and it also will grow. The price of that stock will grow. So I always tell people, invest in things that they're familiar with. Right now, what's hot is consumer discretionary things. When we first started this pandemic, things that were staples in the house, like your wet wipes, or those are consumer staples. So look around your house, it may be a staple that you like, that you love. Like I love, and I'm gonna use this, I don't own the stock, so I get to say it. You actually own some, and I sold and I regret it. But I love Starbucks. Starbucks takes my money, and it has taken my money.
It takes yours and half the world money. I don't know what y'all obsession is with Starbucks, but okay. I don't understand the obsession with Starbucks, but okay.
I love Starbucks. They have the best, I'm a tea drinker. They have the best teas. So things that you're familiar with, even during this pandemic, Starbucks still had lines wrapped around the building.
Y'all in coffee. I don't understand it. Y'all in coffee. Even when it's 100 degrees outside, I see people walking around with a Starbucks cup. You have to give them kudos for marketing.
Yeah.
Make somebody feel like they need that in 100-degree weather. Kudos for marketing. Kudos for marketing.
And even with the Zoom, people started doing the technology. So, and again, I'm not promoting that particular stock, but I'm using it as an example. Things that you're familiar with, that's what you should invest in. That's that Warren Buffett's way. Buy things that you are familiar with. Don't buy something that you're not familiar with. That's why I don't own any of the coins,
Oh,
because I'm
Bitcoin.
familiar with them, but I don't like how they operate, and so and they're too up and down for me.
I agree with you. I don't think most people understand what Bitcoin really does. It's been kind of one of those in the wind type theories. Yeah, so I don't think most people should really get involved in that. Okay, so let's talk about individualized personal finance planner. The ideology that I sit down with somebody and they're supposed to help me create a trajectory to get me to retirement. What should I expect? That's kind of what you do in essence. So what should I expect if I sit down with, if a woman of color sits down with a personal financial advisor, what should they expect from that experience? What should I take away?
So here's what you should take away is, first, you want to make sure that it's someone that you feel comfortable with. And I always advise everyone to interview advisors. Um, so interview. So what we're going to do is I ask you questions. I ask you about your goals. I also manage money too. So let me just kind of clarify what I do. So I write plans, and you don't have to invest with me for me to write a plan. I write plans, and those plans are based on your goals. I will also gather up your documents and look for holes that I may see in your documents. And I'll use as an example. You don't have a will. I'm not an attorney, but if you're saying I want to do a plan, then one of my goals and I'm a chartered financial consultant, so I have a designation. I will recommend that you go see an attorney. If I'm looking at your accounts and I don't see that they're titled properly, I'm going to make recommendations on that. And then if you say I want to retire by 55, I'm going to look at what you already have saved up for retirement. And I'm going to say, well, if you want to retire by 55, then this is what you need to be saving in order for you to get there. There's no guarantee, but I make recommendations on what can get you there to retire by 55. And what does retirement look like? So we paint pictures. I want to know from you, what does that look like? What does retirement look like for you? Is that traveling? Is it buying a family home? Is it buying something on the beach? So I ask a lot of questions to try to create that roadmap to help you get there. And then I also manage money. So I'm licensed to take your money and create a portfolio for you, and I manage that money for you. So I do that as well. I don't do the individual stocks, but I can take that money and create a diversified portfolio, and then I watch it and I manage and I make recommendations on it. And then people pay me for plans, and just to get my advice too. I also do more consultation, like if a person has a new business owner, they have some questions about how to get their business started. I'm there as a sounding board. I'll make recommendations for that. So I do a lot of that too, where people just pay me a fee to pick my brains, and I do that as well.
Okay. Are there any kind of certifications that we should be looking for if we really want to, sit down with somebody to get this kind of stuff done? Because I know you have 50,000 of them. So there's something you have 50,000 of them. So is there any baseline certification that we should look for before we sit down with someone?
So, and yeah, and I'm glad you asked me that question, Ricardo, because there are a lot of people that call themselves, I'm a financial coach,
Mm-hmm.
I'm a financial everything. So here's what I would do and I may be a little bit biased, and I'm going to just say this. Um, if I was sending my family member to someone to do some planning, I would ask them to look for a firm that is a registered investment advisor, an RIA firm, because an RIA firm is a fiduciary firm, meaning that they're not, they're your best interest is, it's in their best interest to make sure that they're doing what's right for you. They're fiduciaries, and my firm is a fiduciary, which means that I don't sell any products at all. I do have my insurance license, but I'm a broker and not an agent. So I don't work for anyone. I look for what's best for you. And that's outside of my financial planning firm, but I kept those because I feel like if you're doing planning for a family, then it's important for you to give them some directions on things. So you want to look for someone that is a fiduciary, an RIA firm, registered investment advisor. Not to say that the other ones aren't, but I just like an RIA, a registered investment advisor, because they are truly a fiduciary. A fiduciary just means that this person is going to do what's in your best interest and not think about their own best interest. So that's the first step. RIA firm. Make sure that you feel comfortable with the person. Get a recommendation from someone else who's worked with that person as well. So that's where I would start.
Okay, so the certification, somebody that's IRA certified.
Oh, let me go through that. So that's confusing. So you have three letters, and they all mean different things. So you have an IRA, which is just a retirement account, an individual retirement account.
Mhm.
Okay, and I said an RIA. An RIA is not a person, but the type of firm. It's a registered investment advisor firm. And then you have a person who is an IAR. I am considered an IAR. I'm an investment advisor, IAR, investment advisor representative. So I'm an IAR and I own an RIA. I'm an IAR and I
Okay.
own an RIA and I open up IRAs.
Okay.
Okay. And then I have an MBA. So I have a MBA, and everyone has an MBA right now.
Yeah, I
Everyone
have
has
one of those too.
MBAs. I have an MBA, but I also help small business owners. And then I have a CDFA. So I'm a certified divorce financial analyst. So for people that are a lot of times, and unfortunately, marriages end in divorce, I use that certified divorce financial analyst designation two ways. I like to do it pre-marriage for people or for couples that are thinking about getting married. The knowledge that I know about money and marriage, I try to help people before they get married to consider some things before they walk down the aisle so that they don't end up in a divorce because of money. And then I also work with attorneys who may be an advocate for a particular, client, and I will help them post-divorce get their finances together. And even with the attorney and helping the attorney with the finances for their client.
Okay, so that's a good segue. When we talk about women who are married and we talk about the commingling of funding and things of that magnitude, how do you advise those kinds of women on their road to wealth? Because it's not just
Okay. But so, here's the thing. It's when you're married, and I've been married for over 20 years. So
oh,
I know,
look at
I know,
you.
I have been married for over 20 years, but we don't argue about money. We've never argued about money. So I'm really excited. We've never argued about money. So you have to do a trial and error. You may be going to a marriage where you have a spender and you have a saver.
Mm.
So I think you need to have two reasonable people to realize, to have goals to say, if I'm the spender, then I need to maybe give the money to the saver. Um, in certain households, you can have situations where if one person makes more than the other person, you can divide the household bills up based on a percentage. If this person's making 40% more, then they should pay 40% more of the bills. Some households have a joint account where they put the money in it, and that is a household account for their bills. And then you have households like mine. My husband and I, we don't have any joint accounts. We don't argue about money, and we, selectively decide who's going to pay what. And that has worked out for us. So it's trial and error. And I think you should think about what's going to work for you in your situation.
Okay, that makes
So
sense.
that's why so there's no cookie cutter answer to that. That's why it's important to sit down pre-marriage with the person. That's why where I come into place, and sit down and talk to someone before you get married to figure out what's going to work best for you. You have some people who are like, I'm not going to pay my spouse's bills because they got a bunch of student loan debt, so they have to handle that. So everyone's situation, every couple's situation is different.
Okay, so we're down to our last couple of minutes. So, how can people get in touch with you, and what are some of your projects that you have?
Oh, wonderful. So you can reach me on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at my Facebook page or One Bucket Nation. Please follow One Bucket Nation on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You can go to onebucketnation.com and order my books. And then if you're looking for an advisor, you can also go to my other company, OBN Wealth Advisors, and just shoot me an email. So projects, I am super excited, Ricardo, because I just came out with a new book. My book is called Secrets of the 800 Plus Club: How to Raise Your Credit Score, Maintain Good Credit, and Live the Life of Unicorns. Unicorns are those people who consistently maintain excellent credit. So I'm really excited about that. The book just came out in October, and I've already gotten great reviews from Kirkus Reviews and Book Publishers Weekly's Book Life reviews. I got A's. So the book is doing really well. You can find the book on my website, onebucketnation.com's website, or you can go to Amazon, Barnes and Noble, and what else? Amazon, Barnes and Noble, and my website. And what other booksellers? Just Google the book or Google my name or start at Amazon. So check it out, pick it up, buy the book for someone that you care about for the holidays. When we're giving out holiday gifts, we should also give something that the person can learn from. You can buy both of my books on Amazon and create what I call a wealth builders bundle and give them both books, because my first book talks about these money buckets, and my new book talks about and encourages you to work on your credit, because poor credit is one of the contributing factors to the wealth gap. People who have poor credit, and it doesn't matter about your income, you can make a lot of money and have poor credit. But poor credit, people that have poor credit end up spending more money on items than I would spend because I have an 800 plus credit score. So definitely pick up the book.
All right, in a minute, can
Okay.
you drop some nuggets, some steps or some nuggets for women who want to start this journey to wealth?
Okay. So this first thing, three things that get in your way, and I want you to recognize this. Fear. Don't let fear stop you from getting your way. Procrastination. Stop putting off wealth building. And lack of knowledge. Pick up a book. I purposely wrote my books because everyone's not going to be able to go and see a financial advisor. They're not going to have money. So I wrote books, and one of the great things about my book is that they're not over anybody's head. They're not boring finance books. That's why if you go to Amazon, read some of the reviews, that's what people are saying, is that the books are designed for the everyday person who wants to get started on this wealth building journey. So don't let fear get in your way of building your wealth. Stop putting it off. Don't wait until you're 40 or 50 before you start thinking about building wealth. And don't let me see, fear, procrastination, and then knowledge. Knowledge is power. There were so many things that I did because I picked up a book and I read about it. And knowledge is truly power. Knowledge is your friend, and don't be afraid of asking questions to gain more knowledge about wealth building, about creating that beautiful financial roadmap that will allow you to be able to pass it down to the next generation.
All right. Well, there you have it. There you have it. Mrs. Dinkins, thank you for your time on today. You stick around. I'm going to stop this, but you stick around. And everybody, we will continue this actually at 4:30 with Dr. Latoria Whitehead. We're going to be talking to her at 4:30. So everybody, I will see you guys in about less than an hour. And yeah, there you go.